For a young man who had nothing, finding the wallet was like standing at a fork in the road. The day it happened was like any other. A gray sky, a heavy air that mirrored the exhaustion in his bones. As he trudged home through a narrow, cobbled alley, a canyon of glass and steel, the rain began to fall. Head down, collar up, he walked on. And that's when he saw it. A dark rectangle against the wet gray cobblestones. He bent down and picked it up. It was a wallet. A man's wallet, fine black leather. And it was heavy. With trembling fingers, he opened it, and his breath caught. It was packed with a thick brick of $100 bills. It had to be thousands, enough to change everything. His first instinct was pure temptation. A voice in his head, like a serpent's whisper, started listing all the things this money could fix. Who would know? For a man this rich, it was a drop in the ocean. For Leo, it was the entire ocean. Then, his fingers brushed against a driver's license. The name, Alistair Vance. CEO, Vance Industries. A chill ran down Leo's spine. This wasn't just a rich man's wallet, it belonged to a king. Tucked behind the license was one more thing. A photograph, old and creased, of a woman with a warm, genuine smile. The photo felt more personal, more valuable than all the cash combined. Keeping the money was one thing, but stealing a man's memories, that felt like a different crime altogether. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, the rain plastering his hair to his forehead, holding two worlds in his hands, the world of desperate need and the world of doing what was right. His choice wouldn't just define him. It would set in motion a chain of events that no one, least of all the wallet's powerful owner, could have ever seen coming. Before we see what choice he makes, what would you have done? Let us know your honest answer in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories that explore the best of human nature, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the rest of this incredible story. To understand the weight of that choice, you first have to understand Leo's world, the Narrows. It wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a forgotten room in the grand mansion of the city, Viridia, a place of tired brick buildings where the relentless hum of the elevated train was its constant heartbeat. Leo's world was a cramped, two-bedroom walk-up, a space that smelled of his mother's herbal remedies and the quiet worry about making rent. His mother, Elena, had once been a force of nature, but a chronic illness had stolen her strength, leaving her unable to work. So the burden of the family fell on Leo's shoulders. At 21, he carried the weight of a man twice his age. He worked a grueling, thankless job at a downtown warehouse, a ghost in a high-vis vest, loading and unloading trucks for a wage that barely kept their heads above water. He was invisible to the city bustling around him. And yet bitterness was a luxury Leo couldn't afford. His focus was singular, his 7-year-old sister, Mia. Her Narrows wasn't a place of decay, it was a kingdom. Her biggest dream was for her 8th birthday, just a week away. All she wanted was a single book from a downtown shop, the Star Sailor's Atlas, a collection of fantastical maps of imaginary stars. The price tag, just $20, might as well have been $1,000. The thought of letting her down was a physical ache. A quiet desperation was growing inside him, like a slow-rising tide threatening to overwhelm him. That was Leo's life, a cycle of work, worry, and a fierce love for the two women who were his entire world. The walk home was a blur. Leo clutched the wallet, its presence a burning secret against his leg. Every footstep echoed the war in his mind. The arguments for keeping it were so loud, so logical, a rebalancing of the scales in a city that was anything but fair. He pictured Mia's face lighting up, his mother's eyes filled with relief. He climbed the 4 flights to his apartment. When he opened the door, the scene inside brought his internal battle to a halt. Mia was asleep on the sofa, a crayon in her hand, having drawn a picture of their family holding hands under a sky full of smiling stars. In her armchair, his mother was dozing, her face etched with exhaustion. This was his life. It was hard, yes, but it was built on love and integrity. It was built on the words of his father, "Your character, Leo, is the one thing no one can ever take from you." Looking at them, he knew what he had to do. The next morning, Leo woke before dawn. He set out towards the gleaming heart of the city and stood for a long moment across the street from Vance Tower. It soared into the clouds, an unbreachable fortress of wealth. He took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving doors. The lobby was a cavernous cathedral of marble and chrome. He approached the reception desk. "Excuse me," he said. "I need to see Mr. Alistair Vance." She didn't look up. "Do you have an appointment?" the receptionist asked. "No, but it's important. I found something that belongs to him." Her gaze swept over his worn jacket and cheap jeans, her expression pure dismissal. "Mr. Vance does not take unscheduled meetings. You can leave it with security." "No," Leo said, his resolve hardening. "I have to give it to him, personally." "That's not possible," she said, turning back to her screen. He walked over to the guards and explained, but Leo held his ground. "I understand, but there's something personal in it. I really think he'd want it back right away." He was thinking of the photograph. The memory of the smiling woman gave him courage. His persistence was unusual. The guards exchanged a look. Finally, one spoke into his wrist communicator. A few tense moments passed. Then the guard looked at him, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Wait here," he said. "Someone will be down." The elevator ride to the top was a silent, dizzying ascent. The doors opened into the office of Alistair Vance. An entire wall of floor-to-ceiling glass offered a godlike view of Viridia. Behind a colossal desk sat Alistair Vance himself, his eyes as sharp and cold as chips of ice. He watched Leo approach with an expression of deep-seated cynicism. "They tell me you have something of mine," Vance said, his voice a low baritone. Leo's throat was dry. He walked to the desk, pulled out the wallet, and placed it on the polished surface. "I found this in an alley last night," Leo said. Vance picked it up. He opened it, his eyes going straight to the cash. "It's all there," Leo said more firmly. "I didn't take anything." Vance's eyes flickered up to meet him. Then his fingers found the sleeve with the photograph. He paused. He pulled out the faded picture of the smiling woman and stared at it for a long, silent moment. A wave of profound sadness washed over his features before he quickly hid it. "I was worried you'd lost this, sir," Leo said quietly, nodding towards the photo. It looked important. That was the moment everything changed. The cold billionaire was gone, replaced by someone vulnerable. "This," Vance said, his voice thick, "was my wife. She passed away 10 years ago. This is one of the only pictures I have of her. It's irreplaceable." He leaned back, gesturing for Leo to sit. "I have to confess something," Vance said. "I didn't lose that wallet. I dropped it, on purpose." Leo stared, confused. "You dropped it?" "Yes," Vance sighed. "It was a foolish experiment, a test. I've become jaded. I started to believe that integrity was a myth. You are the first person to bring it back with everything." He leaned forward. "But what you said about the photograph, the others saw the money. You saw her. You understood the real value wasn't the cash. You were worried about a stranger's memory, an old man's heart." A tear welled in Alistair Vance's eye. "My apologies. It has been a long time since anyone has surprised me." He looked at Leo with genuine awe. "What is your name?" "Leo," he replied. "Leo," Vance repeated. "You've done more than return a wallet today. You have returned a piece of my faith." Alistair Vance didn't just write Leo a check. The encounter had shaken him. He saw in Leo a symbol of the city's forgotten soul. Rewarding one person wasn't enough. He knew he had to water the roots. 2 weeks later, he called a press conference. "For too long," he began, "I have been a citizen of my corporation, but not a citizen of my city. I have built towers of glass, but I have neglected to help build communities of hope." He then told the story, without using Leo's name, of a young man who found a wallet with a small fortune and a treasured photograph. "This single act of honesty," Vance declared, "held a mirror up to me and to all of us." That day he announced the Viridia Project, a foundation seeded with $100 million. Its mission was not charity, but investment in people. The Honesty Fund for small businesses, the Second Chance Initiative for job training, and the Kindness Challenge, where the foundation pledged to match any publicly crowdfunded neighborhood project. The effect was electric. The story of the anonymous honest man of Viridia became a local legend. A wave of civic pride began to stir. News reports showed residents breaking ground on a new community garden. Volunteers painted murals over graffiti. People started looking at each other differently. And what of Leo? Vance had taken care of him. He bought their apartment building, ensuring they'd never face eviction. He got his mother the best medical care. Mia got her book. But he knew a man like Leo needed purpose. He offered Leo a position leading the Viridia Project's youth outreach program, where his decency was his greatest asset. A year passed. Viridia was still a city of contrasts, but the chasm between its two worlds was no longer as deep. The Narrows was a neighborhood in bloom. The new community center was a bustling hub of activity. The grinding despair had been replaced by a current of hope. The city hadn't become a utopia, but it had rediscovered its heart. Leo stood on the rooftop garden of the community center, a leader and a mentor. Later, he stood on the balcony of Alistair Vance's penthouse, now a friend. The two men, once separated by a universe of wealth, stood side by side, looking out at the transformed city. "You know," Vance said, "I used to look out at this city and see numbers on a spreadsheet. Now I see a story, I see people." He turned to Leo, gratitude in his eyes. "You taught an old, cynical man that our integrity is the most valuable currency we have, and the best investment we can ever make is in each other." In the end, this wasn't just a story about a lost wallet. It was a story about what we find when we choose honesty over personal gain. Leo found his purpose. Alistair Vance found his humanity. And the city of Viridia found its soul. It's a powerful reminder that our character is defined not by what we have, but by what we do when we think no one is watching. And sometimes, the smallest act of integrity can be the catalyst for the greatest transformation of all. If this story resonated with you, please consider sharing it. You never know who might need to hear this message of hope. And for more content that inspires, don't forget to like and subscribe.